fiancé's friend refused to wear a wig for our wedding photos. Her parents scolded me, so we disinvited her. My boyfriend, now fiancé, asked me to marry him 2 months ago. To give a little background, I met him at a farmer's market when I was 18 and he was 26. We are now 24F and 32M. We've been together for a little bit over 5 years, and I'm very happy with him. Now, to the story. My fiancé's friend, Brittany, has been friends with him since they were in elementary school. Throughout our early dating days, I expressed I was not a fan of this woman. There are many reasons as to why, such as us not having common interests and absolutely polar opposite moral codes, but the main one was her interest in embarrassing me and my fiancé, possibly because she likes him. When we were first starting to go on dates, she had shown up and tried to invite herself to the date because he had told their mutual friend group chat where he was taking me. She then decided that she would go to the same restaurant, and had tried to make a scene about him cheating on her and that she was heartbroken. It escalated very quickly and it ended with me asking the manager to get her trespassed, as she was delusional and I, nor my date, did not want her around. This sort of situation happened 3 more times, even going as far as showing up to his grandparents' house to stop me from meeting his family. At that point, I made it clear to him that if anything like that were to happen again, I'd be out of there. Which he completely understood and agreed with me, wholeheartedly. He convinced his friend group to go low communication about Brittany with him because she was acting weird around him and they all understood and disagreed with her actions. He had extremely low contact after that point, and I learned years later that she had gotten major therapy, even checked herself into a mental hospital, and went on medication to stop these absolutely unhinged personality traits. Around 4 years later, they reconnected through a mutual friend's birthday party we were all at, and she genuinely seemed like she had changed personality-wise from the person I had met 5-ish years ago. We still didn't agree on most things, but she apologized for the way she had acted previously and owned up to all the BS she tried to pull with him. So, I just kept my guard up, but encouraged my fiancé to make friends with her again. I'm not friends with her, but I am friendly towards her. Skipping to now, I have been planning this wedding basically since I was born, over-exaggerating, but it has been in my thoughts since I was a young child. The wedding will not happen for another 2 years. The theme is supposed to be similar to D&D style fantasy. A Renaissance wedding with blue, orange, and red as the basic color scheme. Most of the wedding would be held outside at a local state park, but part of it would be held inside. Specifically, the cake and food would be cut and served inside, as well as some of the guest photos. This is the important part. I have a personal friend, Bree, 28F, who does professional pictures at Renaissance festivals across the US. Her job is to drive around across the country to rent fairs and take pictures for certain venues. It's a very cool job, and I love seeing the pictures. However, she does editing for some of these venues with a green screen to make it look more aesthetic or to totally change the scenery behind the people in the photo. For example, she showed me mock-ups for me in the past, showing silly people in costumes being chased by goblins and trolls, a dragon breathing fire behind a party of knights, and even a garden of lights with fairies flying through it, etc. It's silly stuff and is for people to have fun with. My idea was to incorporate this into my wedding. The guests would choose whatever background they'd like from a catalog that my friend and I put together, and Bree or her teammate would take pictures of them throughout the day. These pictures would be uploaded electronically and then be edited by her after the wedding. These were mandatory for all guests that wanted to participate, so I could use the pictures for postcards and scrapbooking. It's my hobby. The people who wanted to take part in this activity would have to check a box on the save the date form I sent out. My assumption is that most guests would be doing this, as most of the people that will be invited are extremely rambunctious and love activities involving being silly. I do want to make it clear, these would not be the only pictures taken at the wedding. There still would be normal pictures being taken of the wedding itself, as well as photos that will likely be framed and used as decorations that would have no green screen of my husband and I, and the wedding party. A few days after he had proposed, my fiancé asked me if I'd feel comfortable with him inviting Brittany to the wedding as a groomswoman. Honestly, I was fine with it. Until the topic of her hair came up. In the year or so that he had reconnected, she cut and dyed her hair a lime green with a cool undertone and highlights. I honestly really like it and it suits her facial structure extremely well. However, I was worried about the green screen and her hair, so I invited her to my friend's home a while later so we could see if the screen would blend with her hair. Unfortunately, it did. In the pictures, you could see a major glitch with every background we tried because of her hair. I asked my friend if there was a way to edit around it, and she said there was, but it would be an extra amount of money because it would be way more time to go through and possibly edit multiple photos of her with groups of people and herself so the picture wouldn't glitch. I'm very against this, as our budget has to be semi-perfect. We are accounting for accidents and issues, but not extra money to my friend's business because of one woman's choice of dye blending very well with the green screen. While I do love her hair, I asked if she'd wear a wig to the wedding so she could still be included in the green screen pictures, even offered to get it professionally done and I'd pay for that. This is when she became very angry with me. To sum up what she had said, her being asked to wear a wig was basically me saying I wanted to cover herself. That her hair was an expression of herself and that she loved it. I told her that I loved it as well, but in order for her to be included, she would need to wear a wig, as the green in her hair cannot just be covered up via a hat or other headwear. She has been saying that I just don't want to include her in the wedding. As a compromise against the wig, I propose that she gets more pictures of her having fun taken at the wedding itself, instead of the green screen. She didn't like this idea because she claims it isn't fair all the other guests get to be put in a fun picture and she's the only one not allowed. Though I sort of agree with her, it isn't to the fault of my own. So, I offered that she paid for the extra editing costs it would be to take and edit more of her pictures. At first, she was fine with the idea. Until I mentioned that the extra editing would cost around $100 for just a singular picture to be taken and edited by my friend, and the final price depended on how many photos she ended up in on the green screen. Then, she declined the offer and tried to throw it in my face that Bree's prices were outrageous. I disagreed with her sentiment about the prices, and I haven't spoken to her since then. Throughout this whole ordeal, my fiancé has been on my side, but he has been upset over her possibly not being there. While he does agree with me about not wanting to pay more for just her, as well as that she's being overdramatic, he has sympathy for her being the only person being left out of this choice activity. While I also have sympathy, I just don't see an alternative here. We can't use a blue SCR over a green screen because the colors of the wedding are blue, red, and orange. And, I don't wish to pay for a new screen for my friend's business just because of one person. And the alternatives I have come up with, she has shot down. So, my final decision was to ask him to disinvite her from the wedding to not create further drama, if she does not want to wear a wig. After long talks between us, he agreed with me and sent her a message that she would be disinvited entirely and would be welcome to celebrate with just us, after our honeymoon had ended. They met up soon afterwards and he stayed firm on the matter, despite her crying and still refusing to do anything to correct her hair. She still believes that me asking her to do this is because of some power imbalance and that I just want to bully her, which I don't think I'm doing. She has a year to think it over. I can tell this situation bothers him though, and I've addressed it a few times. All of the times I have, he says it is for the best, as she would just ruin the photos she was in with the green screen and could cost us to delete hundreds of pictures, purely based on her actions. I agree, but it still bothers me that I'm doing something wrong. Especially since after this incident, her mom and dad have reached out to me to scold me for abusing my power against their daughter on one of the biggest parties she's ever been invited to. Even my friends are split on the issue, all of them having sympathy for her but some of them saying I'm an ob because I won't just let her come to the wedding and have someone to block her from taking any pictures with the green screen. And, just to make sure the record is straight, I am not trying to force her to change her hair in any way. I do not want her to dye it differently, nor would I expect her to. I purely just want a non-green wig to be put on her head for the wedding and then she can remove it afterwards. I would normally say that she could remove it after the green screen portion, but I'm still working out if I'm just going to let it stay up for the entire day of the wedding, or if I'm going to hold other activities for everyone and have Bree close the photo stuff down. Again, wedding isn't for another 2 years, so I'm able to think it over for at least a year. I dunno, am I the asshole? I will add some context to that, as I thought I made it clear, but apparently not. The activity with the green screen is open to be used by everyone that signed up for it, mostly so I can get an accurate number of people that will have multiple pictures taken of them. I would encourage them to do it in groups, so if one person's hair is making it glitch, and you have multiple people in a picture, it turns into a more than just $100 venture, it turns into $1,000s of dollars that I simply do not have. Bree told me that the total price could potentially quadruple the price I'm willing to pay because it would take hours to Photoshop every single picture Brittany is in. This woman as a guest was always an option, but they decided to invite her to be more than that, and are now reneging because of hair. Guests are welcome to the green screen too, that is why uninviting her was on the plate because if she doesn't want to be left out of a portion of the wedding, then how else would I get her to not take pictures with other people with the green screen? Oop, I didn't mention this only because I was already typing a lot, and forgot to add it, but she has more appointments booked to get her hair touched up with more green coloring in the next 2 years because of the fading the color like that does. I only recently found out this information from my fiancé before we decided to tell her about the issue. If her hair isn't green for whatever reason in a year, or she changes her mind about not minding that she isn't allowed to be in the green screen pictures, I'm sure something could work out differently and that wouldn't affect much at all. Plus so the easiest solution would be for her to just not be in those photos, right? This is correct and I agree with you. The issue is that I'm being made into the bad guy because she doesn't want to be left out of one of the 4 big activities I have ideas for the wedding. I didn't include all the other stuff because I wasn't trying to pile on about how badly she's taking this, as the post is already very long. But, she's yelled at me, cried, called my fiancé 33 times while he was at work, and more. All because I can't fix that she physically cannot be in green screen pictures without ruining them because I do not want to afford a major increase on my spending. I don't get why OP is jumping to uninviting her over the much simpler I'm sorry we can't afford the extra to accommodate your hair color for those pictures, if you won't pay or wear a wig then you won't be in them. A lot of people keep saying this and I think I should have made it more clear. We didn't uninvite her, technically. The conversation between her and my fiancé was more similar to the best recollection of his memory. Fiancé, we need to talk about your antics ever since OP told you that you couldn't be in the green screen pictures. Brittany, okay, I was going to bring it up to you, but I thought you'd make the better choice once we got to talk in person. Fiancé, I have decided that I don't want you to be at my wedding if you won't just choose how to temporarily alleviate the issues with the photo op in your hair. Brittany, what? You would uninvite me over this? Why can't she me just have her editor friend edit my pictures so my hair doesn't get cropped out and ruin the look of the pictures? Fiancé, because it costs a lot more for Bree to spend 4 to 5 hours on each photo, over-exaggeration on his part, to individually and manually put your hair back to normal. There's a long process involved and she charges by the hour for editing like that. We're already paying a lot for wedding photos because Op and I want to use them for years to come, and we can't afford another large sum of money for Photoshop editing added to the 1,200 photo package. Even if sent them digitally to a different editor than Bree, we'd still be looking at an additional $1,000 tacked onto it. Brittany starts crying. I thought you wanted me at your wedding, and wanted my niece to be the ring bearer. I want to be in those photos because they look like so much fun. She just doesn't want me there, so she's saying I can't come, all because I just want to be included with everyone else for the photo op. I just don't understand why you won't pay the $1,000 and be done with it. You make a lot of money, and so does she. Fiancé, your sister agrees with Op and I about this topic. She thinks you're being ridiculous and dying on the wrong hill. Your niece is still on the table to be the ring bearer, even though we've never explicitly said so. Just asked her mom if she could do that without getting too nervous in front of all the people. Either way, it doesn't matter. I would like you to be there, but if you're going to make being in the photo op your hill, I'm not going to tolerate it. I do not want you ruining my wedding because you decided to throw a fit, while you're there, that you can't be in the photo op. Or, worse, you photobomb pictures so you can be in them. Op has made it clear on the outcomes of the photos to you. You look like you are bald, and you block pieces of people behind you because of your hair. Unfortunately, that means you can't be included because we are paying per photo, not for the time. Brittany starts getting a little hysterical and then stands up. Fine, if you're not going to let my hair be the way it is, I'm just not going to go. I want to be in the photo op. I don't understand why you can't pay for the extra editing costs for me because I'm our oldest friend. We have been together since we were 4 and 5, I just don't understand why you'd choose that woman me over me in this situation. She is abusing her power. She doesn't understand that the photo op is a major part of the wedding. It isn't, it's just an activity, and she is not including me in it. I didn't know this part happened until I was typing this comment with my fiancé, but here is some added dialogue. Fiancé, okay, Brittany. In that case, if you won't fix this situation, whether it be to just not participate in the photo op or wear a wig/cover your hair, I don't want you there to cause drama. If you do decide to change it in the next year before we have to book the exact amount of people for the venue, you are more than welcome to be there as a guest, but I do not want you as a groomswoman anymore. You've made me uncomfortable with how you're treating my future wife, and your endless barrage of insults towards her is not going to be tolerated. You have insulted her, so you have insulted me. I believed you had changed for the better, but I was wrong. The only reason your invite even still stands, with conditions, is because your family is very dear to me, and I love your sister like a daughter. She starts crying hysterically and tries to grab him by the sleeve, but he pulls away, gets up from the bar, and walks out of the restaurant. So, yeah, that's the entire conversation to the best of my fiancé's ability. Basically, she's being incredibly difficult and stubborn over wanting us to pay $1,000 plus for extra editing because she knows we have the money, we just don't want to pay it only for her. Honestly, if the situation was different, I would have been persuaded to pay half of the cost of the editing and just taken the loss on the photo she happened to be in. I would have done that as the last compromise, over just covering her head temporarily. But with her constant insults, endless barrage of complaints that ain't related to this post, and her being extremely rude to me and my partner about the wedding photos, it just isn't in the cards for me now. Update 1. I honestly didn't think I'd post an update at all this year because I mostly got the confirmation I needed to know I was mostly correct in my assumption that she'd cause more drama at the wedding than necessary, and that I'd be correct in that I would be okay to disinvite her. I was trying to be detailed in that post, but in this one I'm going to be a little less detailed. Basically, 3 days ago, I was sent my post on Messenger from Brittany. She is a notorious Reddit lurker, apparently, and saw it a few hours after it was posted. It didn't even have to get multiple upvotes because she just reads the ones available on the recent category. I told her I posted because I had a lot of inner conflict towards my involvement with my fiancé choosing to disinvite her if she can't just make some form of sacrifice to not be in the green screen / wear a wig so she can be included. She got extremely mad at me. Called me names, threatened that I'd be sued for defamation, etc. This honestly just made me realize how little she actually changed. Of course, I showed my fiancé and he was appalled at her actions. He said he was going to block her and did so that day, and so did I yesterday. I woke up to 43 missed calls from a number I did not recognize, that ended up to be her, and a dozen voicemails claiming that I was stealing my fiancé away from her again, that I had purposefully targeted her for just wanting to be included with everyone else, and so on. I do not know how she got my number, but I obviously blocked it. After that, I reported her to the police on the non-emergency line because I didn't know if I would be needing to fear for my safety. I'm really glad I did this. After my fiancé had left for work, she showed up to our home and knocked on the door. I cracked a window near the door and asked what she wanted. She said, whilst crying, that I needed to let her in the house because it was her right to be with my fiancé, not me. She started kicking at the door and I told her to knock it off. Immediately, I just started dialing the non-emergency police number for my nearest precinct because I already knew what was happening in that moment, and I was supposed to be clocking in for work on my computer at that moment. I texted my boss and she excused my absence for the day as well. As I was doing this, I kept repeating, "Go away, I called the police, and I do not want you here. You are trespassing." She was saying all kinds of things I don't wish to repeat here, but the lesser of the things she was saying involved calling me a white or cis pig, she is mixed race, and so am I, saying she was 8 months pregnant with my fiancé's baby. There's quite literally zero proof of this, including no baby bump, despite being a fairly thin woman, screaming that she would take me to hell, trying to break my metal outside door, but instead hurting herself instead. And so on. Basically, she had a full-on meltdown. The police came, saw that was trying to break my door down, and immediately put her in cuffs and sat her down. She was claiming this was her house and that she'd lived there for 10 years, that I had broken in and locked her out, etc. Of course, because of her psychotic appearance, I was questioned and once given the real story. As well as being able to provide proof that I was the owner of the home, she was taken to the police station. As far as I'm aware, she was booked for the night and was let go today. I did agree to a temporary no-contact order and my fiancé and I are going to proceed with a permanent one. Her parents called after they heard she was put in a holding cell, and apologized profusely. Apparently, Brittany had lied to them about the extent of her actions and downplayed a lot of it. On the exterior, she seemed fine and well-rounded. But, mentally, she had snapped, again from not taking her meds for a year. She never told her parents this, just acted normally until one of her triggers came back, my fiancé. No, he didn't do anything wrong, she just had a major trigger when it came to him because of a deeply obsessive personality disorder. I wasn't trying to air her dirty laundry about her medical history the last post, but she was diagnosed with BPD and a large handful of disorders caused by trauma she had endured in her childhood from her great-grandfather. She's an unhealthy person, and I regret even allowing her to have the notion that we had forgiven her for her past. I'm pretty shaken from this ordeal. And I can't believe this was all because of a goddamn green screen and some pictures that were supposed to just be treated as silly holiday cards for my foreseeable future. This is making me rethink the idea altogether, to be completely honest. Maybe I'll just rent an adult bouncy house because that seems more fun than green screen professional photography. Now on to second story. Girlfriend smashed my sister's switch, lied about it, and I kicked her out when she resented me taking my sister in. My girlfriend Megan and I stay together. She had a fight with her parents and asked if we could move in together, so we did. Not too long ago, I had to take my little sister in. I can't disclose much except the fact that I was her only option. When we had the talk about me having to take my sister in, Megan did not like the idea. She told me that I was too young to have such a responsibility, what will happen when we get married and have our own kids, our place was too small, etc., but didn't outright say she had an issue with it. I obviously couldn't turn my back on my sister, so I went ahead with it despite her reservations. Although my sister has always been friendly to Megan from the moment she met her, Megan is always just indifferent. And it sucks because my sister really admires her and enjoys talking to her. Maybe they don't connect because of my sister's age. A month ago I bought my sister a Switch, she has always wanted one and all her friends have it. I figured she deserved it as she does well at school, helps with chores and is generally a well-behaved kid. She loved it and she has been taking good care of it. Megan wasn't happy when I bought it, she actually sulked. She would borrow the Switch incessantly and my sister would not say no, maybe because she was afraid to? But Megan would use it so much that it felt like it belonged to her. My sister never said anything, she would just patiently wait for her turn. Sometimes Megan would use it even when my sister was at school, saying that she gets bored when I'm at work. All this made me uncomfortable, so I asked her to please tone down on the Switch as it's unfair on my sister, it was her gift. Megan agreed, although it was clear that she was upset. She gave us the silent treatment for the rest of the night. Last week when I came back from picking up my sister from school after work, we found her Switch broken. And that's putting it lightly, it looked like it was deliberately smashed. My sister was distraught. When I asked Megan WTF happened, she told us that she accidentally dropped it and it broke. It was obvious that she was lying, and when I pointed that out and all the other times where she seemed to have an issue with an 11-year-old for no reason, she got annoyed and told me that everything was fine until my sister moved in. I called her childish and asked her to please pack her bags and go back to her parents' house because I need space and time to think. This only made her more annoyed, but she eventually left. Her best friend texted me last night to tell me that I was an asshole for kicking Megan out because on top of everything else, I know how rocky her relationship with her parents are. Does this make me an Oop, she is, and to think I thought we had a future together. Update 1. When I kicked Megan out, I already knew that there was no way our relationship could continue. After reading the comments on the post, I knew that I needed to officially end the relationship and not leave things hanging. I only said to her I needed time to think because I wanted her to leave without a fuss, she had already caused enough trouble. I hadn't spoken to her since what happened because I was ignoring her texts. Some of them telling me that she missed me and wanted to come back home. I decided to text her to arrange a meeting. She told me to come over to her friend's place because she only stayed a few days at her parents' place. When I got to her friend's place, I told Megan that the relationship is not working out for me and it's best that we break up. I said I don't see myself getting over the fact that she intentionally destroyed something that meant a lot to my sister over her irrational jealousy. Not to mention that she never really opened up to my sister, which should have been enough for me to end the relationship then. My sister deserves to be around someone who is willing to form a relationship with her. I had the rest of her stuff and proceeded to give them to her. She started crying and pleading, then accusing me of choosing my sister over her. I clearly never really loved her. She knew that this would happen after my sister moved in. I just said to her, this is exactly why I'm breaking up with you. I also told her that she really needed to reimburse me the $300 for the Switch that she accidentally dropped because my little sister is heartbroken over it and has been sad about it ever since. She rolled her eyes and told me that she already said it was an accident and that it's not her problem anyway since I don't want to be with her anymore. I didn't feel like continuing to argue with her, so I told her to never contact me again and left. When I got home, I blocked her everywhere. I am relieved that she is out of our lives, but I'm very disappointed in myself that it took something so drastic for me to see that Megan was not a good person.